Good day, everyone. Today, let's start with understanding some of the basic principles related to drone, which are basically the takeoff, cruise flight, or attitude hold, and landing. These principles will make us understand what actually happens during these three phases of the drone. We will also be talking in terms of the forces that are present during these three phases. So let's get into the detail of takeoff, cruise, and landing of a drone. Let's start with understanding the takeoff of the drone. In a drone, the rotors act as the wings. They generate thrust by rotating at fast speeds, which pulls the air downwards and keeps the quad in the air. The net downward force generated causes the drone to rise above the ground. The motors of the drone generate thrust that is greater than the weight of the quadcopter, making the quad rise upwards. All the forces must be balanced, and the total thrust F1 plus F2 plus F3 plus F4 produced by the propeller must be greater than the weight of the quadcopter, and all the movement produced must be equal to zero for a straight takeoff. The governing equation of the motion in this condition is all moments equal to zero. The rate at which the drone rises depends on the forces developed by the propellers and the motor RPM. For a straight takeoff, ideally all the forces should be equal and the sum should be greater than the weight. This defines the forces during the takeoff of the drone. As we have seen takeoff in the previous slide, we discuss about landing in the present slide. For the landing of the drone, the thrust force generated by the rotors should be lesser than the weight of the drone. However, one important part to keep in mind is that the sum of the forces cannot be immediately be made less than the weight of the drone. While descent, one has to remember the rate of descent or rate at which the forces are brought lower than the weight of the drone. The rate has to be slow enough so that the descent of the drone is controlled with minimum impact while touching the ground. At the same time, if the descent is too slow, there is a chance that the drone may take more time and energy to actually descend. Therefore, there is a trade off between the speed and time while landing the drone. One of the most common features that is used while flying a drone is cruise flight or altitude hold of a drone. This automatically maintains the altitude of your drone so you can focus on thrusting it towards any direction. How exactly does a drone achieve these feats? Does it work perfectly, or are there any potential issues you can expect when flying with altitude hold? While the drone pilot can control the altitude of the drone by decreasing or increasing the speed at which the propellers spin, manually maintaining a constant altitude is next to impossible. This is because changing weather conditions such as air pressure and humidity also influence the amount of lift that the propellers generate. Maintaining a constant altitude manually is also made difficult by the fact that the drone pilot also has to focus on moving the drone in any direction and making turns. The altitude hold feature allows the drone to automatically maintain an altitude. This means that barring input from the pilot, the drone will hover at the same altitude regardless of the external factors. This frees up the pilot to focus on more important matters, such as directing the direction of at which the drone will fly or framing photos or videos. At the heart of the altitude hold function is a very simple piece of technology, which is the barometer. This device continuously measures and records the value of air pressure at the drone's current altitude. Since air pressure decreases proportionally with altitude, the barometer can be used as an indirect altimeter for the drone. The use of a barometer to measure altitude isn't done for simplicity's sake. It is the same technology used in a manned aircraft. However, despite the lack of new need for any pilot intervention for the altitude hold function to work, it is still not a foolproof technology. The dependence of altitude hold on air pressure readings is its biggest weakness. Air pressure can be influenced by a lot of factors related to weather, all of which are difficult to predict and out of the drone's pilot control. To summarize, our current lecture focused on three aspects of the drone flight, which are takeoff, landing, and cruise flight of a drone. These will be important to keep in mind, especially since the main part of the drone flight involves these principles. In the next lecture, we will be discussing about the principle of hovering, turning, and rotating of a drone. Thank you very much.